What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 250 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Yesterday, at the very end of my review of The Wicked West Volume 1, I accidentally called that book Abomination. That was not Abomination. This is Abomination. Today I'm talking about The Wicked West Volume 2, Abomination. This is by the same creative team that did Volume 1, Todd Livingston, Neil Vokes, and Robert Tennell, but they also have a whole bunch of other people helping them on this one. As it says on the back of the book, Livingston, Tennell, and Vokes, and this time around they brought a posse. There's like 25 different people who were involved in this book. They talk about that a little bit in the foreword of this book. They said in the previous book they had artists that they really admired to do pinup drawings at the back of the book, and sometimes you'll see graphic novels do that, and that's pretty cool to see. But this time they had a whole bunch of stories that they wanted to tell, and then one of the artists who, Neil Vokes, I believe, he wasn't going to be able to draw this story, so they said, well, why don't we get a backup artist? And then that transformed into, well, why don't we get some of these other artists that we really like, instead of doing pinup drawings, why don't we have them just do a short story that kind of fleshes out this world and explores the character that we introduced in Volume 1. And I really like that. I wish that more books did something like that, like, I don't know, the Hellboy books, where Mike Mignola just hands the reins over to someone else who is going to do a short little Hellboy story. He did that eventually, but I really like it when books do that, when creators have their own creator-owned universe, and then they have the courage to let someone else play around in that universe. Especially here, where this is very early on. If this was like The Wicked West Volume 10, where Vokes, Tennell, and Livingston had 9 volumes to explore their world and kind of set up the ground rules and everything, and then Volume 10, they're like, okay, we're going to let you guys play around in this world, that would be one thing, but this is Volume 2. They are letting people come in right now, pretty early, just right on the ground floor, to kind of do some stuff here in this world with these characters, and that's very courageous. I don't know if I would be able to do that if I was a creator working on my own creator-owned book. One thing that's different about this compared to Volume 1, Volume 1, I don't even know if I mentioned this, but with the parallel story where you had the movie that was being watched in the 1930s and the actual events that was happening in 1870, in the actual events, that was all done in color, but the movie was in black and white. And so it was very easy to quickly see, okay, this is the movie that Roy is watching, and this is what's really happening. This book, everything is in black and white. And that may be a little bit jarring if you're going from Volume 1 to Volume 2. It doesn't bother me. I think that Vokes, his art works very well in black and white. I mentioned that in my review of the Black Forest, but his artwork looks very different here than it did in the Black Forest. I think it was a lot more shadier in the Black Forest. There was a lot more shading. It was a lot more atmospheric, a lot darker, and that's not to say that the subject matter here is not dark. I mean that physically the art was a lot darker in the Black Forest than it is here. Even though this has got evil vampires and a guy who is literally cursed, there is some dark subject matter here. The artwork, at least from Vokes, is not quite as physically dark as it was in the Black Forest that I talked about a couple days ago. We've got lots of different art styles here. This is, like I said, got like 30 different guys who are involved. You can see the credits there. Those guys all helped in some way, either wrote or drew one of the short stories in this book, and it's kind of a long book, so it's a lot longer than Volume 1 anyway. So you're going to have a wide assortment of different artistic styles. The writing is pretty consistent throughout, but the artistic styles, some of it I really like, some of it doesn't work as well for me. There's one story in particular I'm thinking of where I really didn't like the artistic style, but then when you have such an eclectic variety here, that doesn't bother me too much that one of the styles wasn't really my cup of tea. That's bound to happen when you have this many people working on a book. But I really like this book. I'm not sure if I like it as much as Volume 1. I think mostly because Volume 1 had that really interesting parallel between what was going on in 1870 and 1930. I really like that a lot. It would be very difficult to top that here, but what I do like about this is that we get to see lots of different interpretations of this world and these characters, and that's very, like I said, very courageous of these guys who created this character in this world to almost immediately hand it off to other people and let them play around with this guy. So I like this book. Not sure if I like it as much as Volume 1, but that's not necessarily a diss against this. It's more just a compliment of how awesome Volume 1 is. But those are my thoughts on The Wicked West Volume 2, Abomination. This one is actually called Abomination this time. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.